各位觀眾大家好，歡迎收睇26分鐘見證實錄。去年喺全球各地因為新冠疫情而採取封鎖隔離措施，咁各項嘅體育賽事同埋公眾活動都先後延期或者係取消。咁而2020年東京奧運會亦都因此推遲咗1年，終於喺今年嘅7月23號先至正式拉開序幕。但係喺今屆奧運會舉辦之前新冠疫情喺日本多次反覆。為咗減少疫情擴大嘅風險，當局最終係放棄咗俾觀眾入場觀賽。喺去年，我哋就曾經採訪過多位備戰奧運嘅家國運動員，了解佢哋對於奧運延期嘅心情同埋打算。事隔1年，參賽歸來之後，佢哋嘅比賽成績係點呢？經歷過呢一場不平凡嘅奧運之後，佢哋又會有點樣嘅感受呢？
My friend Ben was saying like the Olympics might get postponed. I was like, nah, it's the Olympics. They're not going to postpone the Olympics. Like, come on, like this thing's been going on for years. It's gone through World War, so I mean, it's not going to get canceled. So then when they postponed the Olympic Games, I was out getting groceries and I totally forgot everything.
2020年，我哋喺位於高桂林嘅運動場，曾經見過25歲嘅 Jerome Blake 作為卑詩省一名短跑運動員，佢曾經代表本省參加2017年加拿大夏季運動會，獲得100米以及200米嘅短跑金牌。喺2018以及2019年加拿大田徑錦標賽就分別獲得200米銀牌以及銅牌，同時佢亦都係卑詩200米短跑紀錄保持者。而因為疫情而延期1年嘅東京奧運，就係 Jerome 首次出戰奧運嘅經歷。
Yes, it would have been my first time, qualifying or going to the Olympic Games because in 2016 I was a little young and I wasn't ready at the time to really come up and race against some of the fastest guys. So now I really felt like I had the potential to make the teams and race against some of the fastest guys in the world at the Olympic Games. But unfortunately, those games are postponed.
當時因應當局較早之前嘅居家隔離要求，佢嘅日常訓練亦都不得不暫停。
We stopped training for about 2 months before we were allowed to come back out and start training again because of the coronavirus. So we weren't allowed to do much. So we were on the lockdown as everybody else. We had to stay home. So a lot of us were just doing workouts in our house. So it was a little different, from what we're normally used to.
而再次恢復訓練亦都面對挑戰。
We're really unfit. It's not the same. Some of the runs that you could normally really easy do, you're halfway through, you're so tired throughout the workouts. You're like, we're out there on your back, breathing heavy, and you're really tired. So now it's just like try to get your fitness back and then prepare just to prepare for next year already, even though it's not the new year yet, but we already start preparations for next year.
對於奧運嘅推遲 ，Jerome 話一開始的確係好沮喪。不過佢亦都承認多1年嘅訓練準備時間，令佢對比賽更加有信心。
Because I'm very young to the sport, and I feel like there's a lot of stuff I had to learn. So now this definitely does give me an opportunity to prepare and come back next year and work on the things that I feel like I need to work on, which is mentally and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things you can work on. There's a lot of positive things to take away from this. Not having sports and stuff like that. Most people they felt really down and didn't know what to do. So now it's just like this is an opportunity for you to learn and understand that hey, like it can be taken away from you in an instant. So it's just it's good to work on the mental piece as well as the physical piece.
It is quite heavy. That's the reason why I just keep it in this thing and don't put it on. Everyone's like, man, if I was you, I'd be walking around with it with my neck on every day. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. This thing's very painful to walk around with, but it's pretty cool.
Jerome 喺今年嘅東京奧運代表加拿大參加4×100男子接力賽跑，獲得銅牌。對呢一個結果，佢非常滿意。
Going to the Olympic Games, of course you go with an open mind. You go and you don't really think too much about it. Of course it's the highest point in your sport, so you're going in with a competitive mindset of, I want a medal. It doesn't matter what it is. But we went in and we're so confident in ourselves that we could win. But we came in with a bronze medal. But at the end of the day, the thing I look at is, and all of us look at is, no medals at the Olympics is guaranteed. There's only 3 spots, and there's 18 teams or 16 teams. So we're lucky enough to be one of those 3 teams that have a medal. So I'm pretty happy with the outcome.
佢亦都非常之享受喺日本逗留嘅2個半星期時間。
Because we had a training camp before in Gifu, Japan, before we go into Tokyo into the village. So we're allowed to go in the village 5 days before the event started. So the good thing about it was because we're sprinters, so when all the sprinters went, because we're the last event. So in a sense, like we'd have to wait till everybody finish and come in later. But the good thing is because we're all sprinters, so they're like, okay, we got to go practice. So they let us go in a little bit earlier. So we're there from like pretty much the start of it to the end. So it was pretty cool. We're in there for like a week and a half in a sense. And, you know, I did get to meet a lot more people and, you know, just tour around the village a little bit. The food was great.
不過佢哋就不被允許同其他嘅民眾接觸。
You can't interact with the public, with the Japanese public. So, but the good thing about it is in 2019 I was already in Japan, so I got a chance to really, you know, see what it's all about and visit Japan and stuff like that. So for me, I already had that experience and already achieved that. So in a sense, I was just there to compete and just do what I came to do, which is, you know, compete in the Olympic Games and hopefully win myself a medal. For a lot of people, like, you know, going to Japan, a lot of people will never go to Japan again. So for them, they wanted to go explore, go do all this kind of stuff. So I feel like for them, not being able to do what they wanted and, you know, go outside and probably meet some of the Japanese public or just ask questions about Japan and stuff like that, that was pretty tough for most people. But I mean, other than that, we just had to follow the rules, and I feel like everyone chose to do that. So, but I mean, we're athletes, so I'm pretty sure you'll get an opportunity to go back to Japan again.
並且每一日都需要做新冠病毒嘅測試，而且仲要填寫專為東京奧運開發嘅應用程式。
OCHA, I had to fill out that OCHA form, and sometimes I'd forget about it, and then I get a message in the WhatsApp group, Jerome, you gotta fill your OCHA app by 10 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock. Jerome, you gotta fill your OCHA app. 12 o'clock. Jerome, what are you doing? I was sleeping.
Jerome 話：其實去日本之前，佢未曾想過疫情會變得咁嚴峻。
Honestly, I don't want to say I was fully prepared because I wasn't. When they were talking about all the restrictions, I was like, man, that's not gonna be that so bad. That's not gonna be too bad. But I feel like when every morning I had to wake up to fill the OCHA app, to do a COVID test every morning, so it got very repetitive, and I got annoyed very like later on of doing it every day. So then I was like, you know what? It's for all our health. It's to protect everybody. So I want to make sure I wake up early enough to do everything I needed to do. So I feel like while I was there, I gained the preparation I needed. You're confining thousands of people in a small place, and if they're not prepared right for that, that's a huge outbreak and a huge problem for the Japanese public, the Japanese government, and ourselves as well, because it would force everyone to get confined to the village for a longer period of time till, you know, everyone's test negative or whatever. And the fact that, like, you know, everyone stuck to the rules and followed all those rules. So that was one thing that I was pretty happy about.
佢非常感謝東京奧運嘅一班志願者。
The one thing I would say is like I want to say like the most polite people I ever met is the Japanese public. They're very polite people. Everyone's like, it doesn't matter how much of a bad morning they're having, they wake up and everyone is just saying, good morning, good morning, good morning. Everyone's super happy, a smile on their face and stuff like that. Everyone's bowing and all that. So it was pretty interesting to see how happy everyone was all the time, which is pretty cool to me. And I feel like without the volunteers as well for that games, you know, I mean, a lot of them left their homes, coming to a place where they're not sure who's vaccinated, who's unvaccinated and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, what's going around the village, and they're all there helping out and, you know, for free as well, you know, and going back home to their families and stuff. So that's the one thing I'm pretty thankful for, as the volunteers, and, you know, they helped let that games go off, because last year we were all like, oh, there's going to be no Olympics. So for them to come out of their house and come out of their homes and help out, that's pretty impressive.
而對於冇現場觀眾觀看比賽 ，Jerome 話佢就當作係平時訓練一樣，保持輕鬆良好嘅心態。
So for me, it was just like practice. I was out there just twiddling my thumbs like, ooh, nobody here, so I'm happy. But I mean, there was lots of athletes in there, maybe about 3,000 athletes in the stadium watching from all different sports. So that's one of the cool things, where athletes were allowed to, you know, go watch other athletes. But other than that, you weren't able to mix and mingle and stuff like that. But I think if the crowd was able to come in, like, you know, the Japanese, we knew the Japanese public would have made it so much more fun. Like the energy they bring for sports and stuff like that, it was tremendous if we could have them.
喺去年嘅訪問之中 ，Jerome 嘅教練 Tara 曾經表示，希望能夠同 Jerome 一同前往東京奧運，喺現場為佢加油打氣。但係由於今次疫情反覆，冇教練或者係親友被允許同行。
No one couldn't go, you know, sadly. But I mean, the good thing about it was they're still able to support me on TV and, you know, just watching, and I'm super thankful for that, because, you know, I feel like it was a lot more interactive because I heard people had to wake up at like 4 a.m. in the morning to watch, and a lot of people are doing that because they wanted to watch it live and stuff like that. So I feel like that's one thing that it really shows that people really care about sport and care about a person in general. So for them to wake up that early to support somebody that they probably don't even know, they've never met. So, you know, for me that was pretty cool.
而距離下屆奧運之前 ，Jerome 有好多嘅比賽計劃。不過佢話自己想獲得嘅已經唔係單單係獎牌，而係點樣回歸社區。
There's so much more I want to achieve, more than just a medal. There's so much more things that, you know, one of the things I did was during COVID last year, I started a charity. Yeah, I started a charity called Stepping Stone to give back to my community and give not even just my community, just to give back to my country of where I was born, Jamaica as well. So that's one of the good thing. One thing I started doing was, you know, started something that I feel like I can do to help somebody, help pass along the knowledge I've learned, and, you know, help just give back to my community, help somebody else out, because, you know, somebody helped me when I was coming up. So if I can do the same thing or even something close to that, just to give a little bit back to my community, I'd be happy with that. Not all athletes do stuff like this. They wait till they're finished, like retired and all that, then they try to give back. But at that point, it's too late. So for me, I'm starting now because I'm nothing. I'm just a regular guy, just trying to do something that's going to change somebody's life, hopefully. So that's what I'm trying to do.
喺下一節返嚟，我哋會繼續同另一位奧運老將傾一傾佢今次嘅奧運之旅嘅經歷以及感受。歡迎返嚟節目時間。對於奧運老將嚟講，今屆嘅東京奧運啊，可謂係最特別嘅一屆。每一日嘅病毒檢測以及冇辦法離開居住嘅酒店。另外，親友亦都唔能夠前嚟現場觀賽，亦都係令人遺憾。不過，對於3年之後嘅巴黎奧運呢，就依然係充滿期待。2020年，我哋曾經採訪過42歲嘅 Nicola Gerg。作為一名參加過4屆奧運嘅帆船以及帆船板老將，佢喺參加完2016年里約奧運會之後宣布退役。不過喺2019年就決定再次回歸。
I actually started training December 1st for the 2020 Olympics, so a little behind, but I worked really hard to catch up and made some big gains and qualified the country, and so Canada is now qualified for Tokyo in women's windsurfing.
當時 Nicola 表示非常理解奧運延期嘅決定，而喺居家隔離期間，佢更多嘅係進行陸地運動，以保持良好體能。
Absolutely. I mean, when it started mid-March, it was, I mean, you weren't allowed to or shouldn't go out and do anything, and I mean, I took up running much more than before. I built like workout circuits at home. I changed the way I trained, and definitely it was more on land than on the water.
多一年嘅訓練時間令佢更有信心迎戰東京奧運。
There is a certain nervousness and preparedness that you have to do to get there, but having an additional year, especially after having made a comeback late in the game, allows me a whole nother year of training, you know, getting fitter, getting used to windsurfing again, or, I mean, I'm used to it, but refining all my techniques, gaining the strength that I need for this specifically, you know, getting my tactics and strategy up to par again. And obviously this year, it's very important to find good equipment. And you have to go through quite a lot of equipment to find stuff that works. So that, I have longer time to do that, and to find some good training partners to train with, just really get back into it.
但佢亦承認疫情的確為佢帶嚟好多挑戰。
Everything delayed for a year, and with no competitions coming up, the motivation to keep pushing hard is much tougher. It's a tough time financially for everyone, I would say. Certain businesses, obviously, not so much, but most businesses have suffered. And so when you're an athlete that that relies on fundraising and sponsorship dollars from companies, it's not an easy thing to ask for support for your sport when people don't have money for their families and what's going on. And that's why I'm also working really, really hard now, trying to put in a lot of hours so that I can fund as much as I can, which is never enough.
唔係時隔1年喺東京奧運會如期舉行之後，Nicola 今次嘅比賽體驗又係點呢？
So my result was 23rd out of 27. I am disappointed with my result. However, I think I did the very best I could, given the circumstances as well. I knew going into a pandemic Olympics, it was going to be different. I made certain choices like not going to Europe to travel and compete, not being away from home that long. So what I did focus on was training physically here at home. Unfortunately, that was always by myself as well on the water. So when I got to the Tokyo Olympics, I had never competed against others with my equipment for a year and a half. So that definitely didn't help my speed and that preparation.
受到疫情嘅限制，財政上嘅挑戰反而因此得到舒緩。
What it didn't allow for, or what I would have done previously, was go to all the different competitions around the world, go to Tokyo several times beforehand, which costs a lot of money, having a coach, being with training partners, and living outside of home. So in that sense, I still needed funding and support, but not as much as had I done a full traveling campaign leading into Tokyo.
不過回憶喺奧運臨近之前，新冠疫情喺日本越嚟越嚴峻。Nicola 話當時佢並唔確定比賽是否能夠如期舉行。
But with everything that I read also from the IOC, the International Olympic Committee was pushing to make it happen. And so the Canadian Olympic Committee and all that kind of did as much preparation and took all the measures to ensure that our athletes and support staff were safe. And so you could only hope that, all those measures did something good. We were all doubly vaccinated well before we left. Then, of course, we brought a lot of masks. We got a lot of team masks. So masks were not an issue. We were told about the heat and humidity, and so I did a lot of testing with hydration supplements, all of that.
而今次喺日本參加奧運嘅2個半星期時間，的確有好多難忘嘅體驗。Nicola 話喺到達東京機場之後，除咗要填寫大量文件之外，咁喺做完新冠病毒測試後，仲需要當場等待結果先至可以離開。
And depending on how many people on the plane there was that were part of the Olympics, they processed the plane loads together. And so sometimes that took 8 hours, sometimes it took 3. And then once all of that was done with, I had to wait for my special bus that took me to the sailing village, which was another 4 hours.
而接落嚟嘅每一日，每一個運動員都需要病毒測試。
So we had to spit in a test tube without food or water for at least half an hour before. So it was a funny ritual that my roommate and I had, that we wake up to spit and we had to take the spit tubes with us to the venue every day so that our team lead could take that to the testing. And so if you had a day off, or you weren't going down to the venue, you would have to ask your teammates to take your spit with you. So it made for some funny conversations. I loved the team atmosphere that the pandemic also probably had a factor in creating. So in previous Olympics, there's so much distraction and so much other stuff to do and people that you can talk to that you don't necessarily stick together as a team. And here we were kind of, forced to stay together. But that was really, really great for our team atmosphere and the camaraderie and supporting each other. And so I think that part was the best for me.
而對於 Nicola 嚟講，今次東京奧運帶嚟嘅最大挑戰就係冇辦法提前更多嘅時間到達比賽場地訓練。
So we were only allowed to arrive for the 13th of July, and my competition started on the 25th. And with that, you don't have very much training days. So you have to acclimatize, then you have to train. Of course, there's days off. There's all sorts of things that happen before your competition. So I was hoping to take this time to, test my equipment. And I did, but only in light wind conditions. And during the Olympics, it happened to be windier conditions, which is really when it's important to have your gear be tested.
同時，佢亦都好遺憾，家人同朋友冇辦法前去現場觀賽，自己亦都冇機會喺日本遊玩。
And I also have a Japanese family, so really great family friends from many, many years, and I wanted to visit them and see them. And so naturally, I didn't get a chance to explore Japan, be part of the opening or closing ceremonies, go to the main Olympic Village, so see any other athlete other than on TV like everyone else.
不過喺日本嘅朋友就俾咗佢好難忘嘅回憶。
We had these amazing pools in front of our hotel that we weren't allowed to go to, but that the Japanese people could. And so my Japanese family came to the pool, and it was like the 4 Romeos down below, and I was the Juliet 7 balconies up, and they had a Canada flag, and they cheered, and so we got to see each other from a distance, and that was really special.
今次係 Nicola 參加嘅第5屆奧運會，佢話同過去相比，現時自己更加享受比賽嘅過程，而唔係只係睇重結果。
My identity and how I felt about the Olympics went up and down with how I placed, and that's not always very healthy. And so it's very mentally difficult. And so for these games, I really wanted to enjoy the whole thing. And while I am disappointed in my result, my life doesn't go up and down because of it. And so that is part of what made these Olympics so special as well, is that I have a home to come home to. I have a family. I have a job that I love, and it's not everything dependent on my Olympic result.
佢話疫情期間佢都係喺屋企鍛鍊，保持體能。咁相信未來嘅短期之內，呢一個亦都係佢嘅訓練方式。
So I did all my gym exercises down here in the yard. I have many hills to run, so the hill out here I ran up and down all the time, so I did my sprinting, I did long distance running. We got a kitten in the meantime, so my cat required a lot of chasing around. So I got a lot of physical activity through that. And then, of course, the last time we met, it was down at Dunderave, where that's where I went to train. So on the water, you can be on your own and be safe.
而對於3年之後嘅奧運會，佢仍然抱有期望。
I'm going to say never say never. I never thought I would go to Tokyo in the first place. While I was there, a couple of my friends definitely was like, well, it's only 3 years, it's not 4. And they're switching the Olympic windsurfing equipment to a new class, which is the IQ foil, which is foiling windsurfing. So it's completely new. More people are doing it, and they all say it's so incredibly fun. And so, completely new challenge. I will be trying it because my friends are doing it here at home. I think the only thing is that I want to have fun with it. And if it's not fun, I'm not going to do it. And so that's kind of like whether you're a kid starting with a sport, if you don't have fun, it's too hard to continue to do it if it's not fun.
好啦，今集嘅節目時間就差唔多啦。咁如果觀眾對我哋嘅節目有啲乜嘢意見嘅話，係好歡迎大家以電郵嘅方式同我哋聯絡㗎。 我哋嘅電郵地址係mag26@fairchildtv.com。如果觀眾想重溫翻今集嘅節目，亦都可以上到去我哋嘅網站3w.fairchildtv.com， 點擊節目重溫一欄就可以睇得翻㗎啦。好啦，下星期同一時間再同大家見面，晚安。